What if fasting is really not about weight loss? What if we have made fasting too small? What if fasting is not just a diet trick? It's not just a metabolism hack, not just a way to burn fat faster, but an ancient rhythm woven into the human body from the beginning. A rhythm of nourishment and rest, a rhythm of eating and stopping, a rhythm of receiving and releasing, a rhythm of feasting and fasting. Because for most of human history, people did not eat from the moment they woke up until they went to bed. They did not have a snack in the car, food in the pantry, and coffee drinks in the morning to get going, protein bars in their purse just in case, and fast food in every single corner. And they also did not have a refrigerator glowing in the dark hours of the midnight cravings, right? They just didn't. They ate and then they stopped eating and they worked and they walked and they prayed and they slept and they waited. They rested from food. And during those spaces, the body did something incredible. It switched, it cleaned, it repaired, it listened, it adapted, and it remembered how to use stored fuel. It remembered how to become metabolically flexible. And maybe one of the reasons that so many of us feel inflamed and exhausted and just swollen, foggy and hungry or being anxious or just metabolically stuck and disconnected from our own bodies, it's not only because of what we're eating. Maybe it's also because we almost never stop eating. Today, I want to talk to you and I want to take you deep into the story of fasting, not as a fad and not as a punishment. It's not a shame based diet, it's not a cure all, but as an ancient God given rhythm that can help us understand the body and metabolism and inflammation, insulin and cravings and repair and spiritual hunger, and just what it means to care for the body instead of just fighting it. This is the Fasting Project. And today we're going to ask one big question. What does fasting really do? Every few years, the health world rediscovers something old and acts like it's brand new. It's so exciting. We rediscover sunlight or we rediscover walking and 10,000 steps and we rediscover real food and we rediscover sleep and breathing. We rediscover that it is good to breathe. We rediscover the importance of family and community and nature and minerals and protein and rest and now we are rediscovering fasting. But fasting is not new. Fasting existed long before YouTube, long before podcasts, and long before calorie apps, long before bathroom scales and keto strips and glucose monitors, long before influencers made titles like, I didn't eat for 72 hours and this happened. Fasting has always been part of the human story. I mean, sometimes fasting happened because food wasn't available, and sometimes it happened just because food was seasonal, or sometimes fasting happened because people would be involved in worship or work or grieving or war definitely interrupted normal eating throughout history. And sometimes fasting happened because people were intentionally just choosing to humble themselves before God. And that matters because modern culture often talks about fasting like it's just a body project, like how much weight can I lose and how much body fat and how much ketones and how much and how you know all of these numbers and how many inches can I lose and how fast can I do it? And how long can I go? That's a new one that's popular. Like, how much discipline do I have to have? And but ancient fasting, it asks deeper questions. Like, what am I making room for? What appetite has been controlling me? And or like, what do I need to surrender? What do I need to hear? Or where have I become dependent on constant comfort? Like, where do I need God more than I need the next bite? Like, that's a very different conversation. And I want to be clear from the beginning that food is good. Food is not the enemy. The body needs nourishment. The body needs protein. The body needs minerals and vitamins and healthy fats. And the body needs energy. The body needs care. So, fasting is not about hating food. Fasting is about restoring rhythm. And there is definitely a time to eat, and then there's a time to rest from eating. There's a time to nourish, and there's a time to let digestion just be quiet. There has to be a time to receive, and there has to be a time to release. And that's the rhythm that we have lost, but we are looking for again. So let's talk about what has changed. Like for many people today, eating begins almost as soon as you get up. Like they have coffee or a smoothie or eggs or cereal or something, breakfast right away, and then a snack and lunch and another snack and maybe a sweet drink in the afternoon and some dinner and dessert and maybe a nightcap or a handful of something while cleaning the kitchen or a snack to get ready for dinner because you're shaky. You don't want to risk like cutting yourself. And a bite of something maybe before bed because, you had dinner kind of early and, right? It happens. I'm not saying this with judgment. I'm saying this as a woman, a mother, a health coach, and someone who knows what it feels like to live at times in survival mode. Food is not always just food. Sometimes food is comfort, sometimes it is relief, and sometimes food is the only quiet moment in a chaotic day that we have just to ourselves. Sometimes food is how we stay awake, and sometimes it's how we numb stress, or the opposite, how we celebrate, and also how we cope. I'm not here to shame anyone, but biologically, every time we eat, the body has to respond. It has to digest. It has to absorb. It has to manage blood sugar. And it has to release insulin. It has to decide what to burn now and then what to store for later. And if we are constantly eating, especially if it's refined carbohydrates like sugar and processed foods, the body may spend most of the day in a fed state. Now, the fed state is not bad. We need the fed state. The fed state helps us build and replenish and store and recover. But if we leave the fed state on all the time, like if we never leave that fed environment, we may miss the benefits of the fasted state. And that's where this gets powerful. It's because fasting is not just not eating. Fasting is a different biological state. Like when we stop eating long enough, insulin begins to fall and blood sugar begins to stabilize, and the body begins to look for stored energy, and fatty acids become more available. So ketones may begin to rise, and the body begins shifting from incoming fuel to stored fuel. And that shift is sometimes called the metabolic switch. And that switch, it might be one of the most important ideas in modern health that's popular right now. Like the human body was designed with more than one fuel system. Glucose is one fuel, and then fat is another fuel. Ketones are another fuel. But many of us have lived for years on just constant incoming fuel, especially quick burning fuel. So the body gets used to glucose, like used to snacks and sugar and just frequent meals. So that like quick response, it gets really used to that. A second. And sorry, when glucose drops, then we don't feel the calm that our body should be like, it's okay. No, we're not feeling that. We tend to feel kind of desperate in a silly way. Like we get shaky and irritable and foggy and anxious and weak and hungry and moody. And it's silly. The reason I say silly is because most of us aren't in any kind of a scary place. Like we're not going to be able to get food, but our body panics and we can't function unless we eat something immediately. Now, sometimes it might be true. Sometimes the body really does need nourishment right away. It can be real. I'm not saying it never is, but sometimes, especially in metabolically stuck bodies, those symptoms can also mean the body has forgotten how to comfortably switch fuels. And that is what I'm referring to when I say metabolic inflexibility. Metabolic flexibility is the ability to use both incoming food and the stored energy to eat and feel nourished, and to go several hours without food and still feel steady, to burn glucose when glucose is available, and to burn fat when food is not coming in, so to produce ketones when needed, and to move between those states without panic. Now, that is not extreme. That is human design. We're meant to do this. Fasting, when done wisely, it can help to train that flexibility. And it's not because we're forcing the body and we're not starving the body and we're not punishing the body, but we're creating a temporary space where the body can remember, I have stored fuel. I know how to access it. I do not need constant incoming food every hour to survive. This is why fasting has become such a powerful conversation in metabolic health. It's because fasting, it changes the signal. It tells the body something different. When we eat all the time, this signal is store, digest, process incoming fuel. And when we fast, the signal becomes access, mobilize, repair, adapt, use what is already here. And that shift is not just about weight, it is about the entire metabolic environment. If we're going to understand fasting, we have to understand insulin. Insulin is often treated like a villain in online health spaces, but insulin is not bad. Insulin is necessary. Insulin helps to move glucose out of the bloodstream and into the cells, and it helps to store energy. So, insulin protects the body from dangerously high blood sugar. That's why I say insulin is not the enemy. The problem is when insulin is elevated too often, too high for too long in a body that has become resistant to its message. And that is where metabolic dysfunction begins. It's when cells stop responding well to insulin and the body has to make more insulin to get the same job done. This is insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is connected to so many modern health problems like blood sugar instability and weight gain, cravings, fatty liver, high triglycerides, or polycystic ovarian syndrome has a big connection with this, and type 2 diabetes, of course, and metabolic syndrome and inflammation, energy crashes, brain fog. Like, it's just something that people are dealing with and that so many people describe. Like, they'll say, I feel like I'm doing everything right, but my body will not respond. Fasting can be helpful because it gives insulin a break. And when no food is coming in, the insulin generally decreases. Now, when insulin decreases, the body has a better opportunity to access the stored fat. Now, granted, that does not mean that fasting magically fixes everything. It does not. And I'm not claiming that it does. But it does mean that fasting changes the hormonal environment, and hormones matter so much. This is one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they think about health only through calories. Yes, calories matter. I'm not going to pretend they don't. Calories matter. Food quantity matters. Energy balance in and out, it does matter. But the body is not only a calculator. The body is a chemistry lab. The body responds to hormones like signals and stress and sleep, inflammation and nutrients and light and movement and meal timing and emotional safety and spiritual peace. That is why two people can eat the same number of calories and have very different results. We've all seen that. Like you have that one friend that can eat whatever she wants and she's just fine. And then you yourself or your sister or whatever eats like two pieces of celery and gains 10 pounds. It's because their biology is not the same. Their insulin is not the same and their sleep is not the same. Their stress is not the same and their muscle mass, not the same. Hormones, liver, nervous system, not the same. Their history is different. So fasting is not powerful because it's ignoring biology. Fasting is powerful because it's working with biology. Now I want to pause here because this matters a lot. Fasting is not the same as starvation. No, starvation is deprivation. Starvation is unsafe. Starvation is not chosen freely. Starvation is not properly nourished before and after a fast. Starvation breaks down the body. Fasting, when done wisely, is intentional. It's temporary, it's respectful to the body, to yourself. It's followed by nourishment. Fasting should be done from a place of wisdom, not self-hatred and not self-harm. That distinction is important. Don't ignore it because we live in a world where many people, especially women and teenagers, have been trained to see their bodies as projects to shrink. We've been taught to celebrate smaller and lighter and less hungry. I only eat so many and I don't even get hungry. No. We've been taught that that's the ideal, to be more disciplined and more controlled. But fasting should never become another way to punish the body. This is not what I'm teaching. I do not want anybody watching this to think the less I eat, the more successful I am. No, no, no. The goal is not to eat as little as possible. The goal is metabolic rhythm. The goal is healing. The goal is clarity. The goal is restoration. The goal is becoming more connected to the body, not more afraid of it. And there are people who should not fast or who should only fast with medical guidance. Be aware of that. If you are one of those people, children should not be pushed into fasting. Teenagers need nourishment. So if you are still a developing teenager, fasting needs to be done with care. Not saying it can't be done, but it needs to be done carefully. And, pregnant women, really, I don't recommend fasting. If you are pregnant and you do want to do a fast, totally an option, but not a complete fast from food and water. I would recommend a fast from a particular type of thing, like no sugar or no junk food or, a healthy but still nourishing fast. Also, if you're underweight, you need to be cautious. Um, I'm sure you see me on camera. You know what I look like. Currently, I am very thin. Currently, I am actually trying to gain some weight. I haven't really talked about it in this video, but I do have multiple sclerosis and sensitive autoimmune condition, obviously. And so my weight has fluctuated at times, and I have struggled carrying and holding on to way too much weight. And I have also am now currently struggling with not maintaining enough weight. And so I'm pointing this out because I don't want anyone to look at me that is thin and say, "Well, what does she know?" I have dealt with too much weight and too little, and here I am now. You need to look at it from where you're at and what your situation is. That's the point of this conversation. Um, People with a history of eating disorders need to be extra cautious. I'm not saying that you can never fast if you have struggled with an eating disorder, but be careful, be aware, work with somebody if you can. People taking insulin or blood sugar lowering medication need medical supervision. Um, Fasting, it is powerful. It really is. And powerful tools require wisdom. A knife can prepare food, or it can harm someone. A fire can warm up a house or roast a marshmallow. It could also burn it down or ruin the whole s'more. Fasting is like that. It can be beautiful, but it must be respected. A lot of people try fasting and they think, this cannot be good for me because I feel terrible. And sometimes they are right. Sometimes the body is saying, this is too much too soon. But sometimes fasting feels hard because the body is adapting. If you have spent years eating frequently, your body expects frequent fuel. It expects that morning coffee or that midday, mid-morning donut snack, the afternoon rescue, or that late night bite. So when you remove those things, the body protests. Cravings rise and mood shifts and headaches. Oh, they're real. Energy dips and you might feel irritable. You might feel weak and you might think, I cannot do this. This is why I don't love extreme starts. You need to be careful with yourself. Most people, well, for most people, the best beginning is not a 3-day fast. It's not a 5-day fast, and it might not even be a full 1 day. It might just be a 1 meal fast. This is not pushing through misery. That's not our goal. The best beginning is often very simple. Stop eating after dinner. Let your body fast overnight, 12 hours. That could be dinner at 7 and breakfast at 7. Then the next day, do 13 hours. Then the next week, maybe do 14. And then maybe for some, jump right up to 16. But the first goal is not how long can I go? The first goal is, can I restore my rhythm? Because the body loves rhythm. The body loves consistency. Sleep rhythm, light rhythm, meal rhythm, hormone rhythm, digestive rhythm, spiritual rhythm. So rather than shocking the body, we can guide it. And one of the most powerful first steps is simply closing the kitchen at night. Not because you are bad if you snack. It's it's because nighttime eating can keep the body digesting when it should be repairing. The body was not designed to digest all night and repair all day. There is a rhythm, and fasting helps us remember it. So let's walk through what may happen during a fasting window. Not as a rigid timeline, because everybody is different, but as a general progression. In the first several hours after you eat, your body is digesting and absorbing. So your blood sugar rises and insulin rises and nutrients move into the bloodstream, and the body uses some fuel like right away and stores some for later. But after several hours, that insulin begins to fall and the body starts using the stored glycogen, which is stored glucose, especially from the liver. And as the fast continues, the glycogen becomes lower and the body begins increasing like fat breakdown, and fatty acids are released, and the liver may begin producing ketones. Now, ketones can be used as fuel, um, including by the brain. It can use ketones. And as fasting continues, the body it may increase stress resistant pathways and cellular maintenance and repair processes. And this is where people often talk about autophagy. Autophagy is a cellular cleanup process. It's one of the ways that the body recycles the damaged or unnecessary components. Now, we need to be honest here. Autophagy is real and it is important, but online fasting culture sometimes talk about it like it's a light switch, like fast exactly this many hours and autophagy turns on. No, the body is more complex than that. Autophagy is happening in different tissues at different levels and responds to a lot of different signals, like many signals. So fasting may stimulate it, and exercise may stimulate it, and sleep and nutrient status matter too. So I don't want to oversell it, but I also do not want to ignore it because the idea is beautiful that the body has this built-in cleanup system. The body is not passive. The body is always trying to maintain itself, and fasting may be one way that we can support those systems. Again, this isn't magic. It's just biology. Now, this is where I want to bring in a root cause way of thinking because when people suffer, they often feel betrayed by their bodies. And if you have autoimmune disease, you may feel like your body is attacking you. And if you have obesity, you may feel like your body is fighting you. And if you have fatigue, you may feel like your body is failing you. And if you have cravings, like you may feel like your body has like no discipline. Or if you have inflammation and you're just swollen all the time, you might just feel like your body is just broken. But what if many of your symptoms begin as protection? Like, really think about it. Inflammation is not evil. Inflammation is actually part of healing. If you cut your hand, inflammation helps protect and repair. Fever is not evil. Fever is a part of immune defense. Pain also is not evil. Pain is a warning signal, and insulin, not evil. It protects the blood sugar, and fat storage. We feel it's evil, but it's not. It's designed for survival. And fatigue. Don't you get mad at your body for being so tired? I do. I know I do. But fatigue is not evil. Sometimes fatigue is the body just forcing rest because it cannot safely keep pushing through. The problem is not that these systems exist. The problem is when protective systems become chronic or excessive or stuck or just misdirected, like chronic inflammation or chronic high insulin or chronic stress hormones or chronic immune activation or chronic digestive burden or chronic sleep disturbance or chronic nervous system alarm, then the very systems that were designed to protect us can begin to harm us. And that is why I do not believe that healing begins with hating the body. Healing begins with understanding the body. And instead of asking, why is my body ruining my life, making me so miserable? We can ask, what is my body trying to protect me from? What signal is stuck? Like what burden is too heavy? What rhythm has been lost? And what does my body need in order to feel safe enough to heal? That question can change things. Because if the body is not your enemy, then health is not war. Health becomes partnership. And fasting, when used wisely, can be a part of that partnership. It can remove one burden like constant digestion, constant insulin demand, constant incoming fuel, constant stimulation. It can create quiet. And sometimes quiet is where repair begins. Food is not just calories, food is information. Every meal tells the body something. Protein tells the body to build and repair. Healthy fat tells the body steady fuel, hormones, cell membranes, let's create. And minerals tell the body regulate fluid and nerves and muscles and energy, and it helps to support that. And colorful plants tell the body here are antioxidants, polyphenols, fiber, and compounds that interact with the gut bacteria. And processed sugar tells the body quick glucose and refined seed oil, well, heavy. Processed foods, they may tell the body inflammatory burden. Alcohol tells the body pause other priorities and detoxify this first. Ultra processed foods tell the body that there's a high reward here, but then there's low nourishment. So keep eating, eat it, eat it, eat it. So fasting, it's not a replacement for food quality. This is so important. You cannot fast your way out of never nourishing the body. You cannot starve all day and then eat chaos all night and expect deep restoration. The eating window matters. What you eat matters, and how you eat matters. How much protein you get, it matters. And whether you're getting minerals matters. Whether you're eating enough, it matters. And whether your body feels safe, it matters too. Fasting is only half of the rhythm. The other half is feasting wisely. And by feasting, I do not mean overeating. I mean nourishing. A fasting lifestyle should make the eating window more intentional, not more chaotic. So when you break a fast, you are sending information to your body. You're telling your body what to rebuild with. So I want you to ask yourself, am I breaking this fast with nourishment? Am I getting protein? Am I getting minerals? Am I supporting my liver? Am I supporting my gut? Am I giving my body what it needs to repair? Because fasting creates the space, but nourishment provides the building materials. You need both. All right. Also, the gut is not just a digestive tube. The gut is deeply connected to immunity, inflammation, mood, metabolism, hormones, and brain health. Every time we eat, the gut goes to work. There's stomach acid, bile, pancreatic enzymes, microbial fermentation, and immune surveillance and hormonal signaling. That is a lot of work. And again, this work is good. Digestion is good. But constant digestion can be a burden, especially for people with sensitive bodies. So during fasting periods, the gut gets a break from that incoming food. And the migrating motor complex, sometimes described as a cleanup wave through the digestive tract is more active between meals. Now, that does not mean fasting fixes every gut problem. We know it doesn't. But it does mean that spacing meals may help to restore that digestive rhythm for some people. Many people notice that when they stop grazing all day, digestion becomes calmer, like less bloating and less hunger and less reflux and more awareness, even of just true hunger. But some people with gut issues need the opposite approach for a season. They may need smaller meals and gentler foods or more frequent nourishment, like elemental style nutrition and medical support. And because again, fasting, it's not universal. Like a person with severe digestive inflammation or low weight or a poor appetite or nutrient deficiency may not need more restriction. They may need rebuilding. This is why the question is fasting good? The better question is, for whom? And in what context? And in what form? And for what purpose? And that is how we become wise. Inflammation is one of the biggest reasons people become interested in fasting. They hear that fasting may lower inflammation, and they hear that fasting may help autoimmune symptoms, and they hear that fasting may support cellular repair. And for someone living with chronic inflammation, that is really deeply hopeful. I understand that. As someone with multiple sclerosis, I understand what it feels like to want the immune system to just calm down. I understand what it feels like to wonder if every bite, like every stressor, like every night of poor sleep, every toxin, every infection, like every emotional storm, like might be pushing my body toward another flare. Like that is a heavy way to live. I understand. I deal with it too. So when we talk about fasting and inflammation, we need to be both hopeful and honest. Fasting may influence inflammation through several pathways. It can lower insulin, improve metabolic flexibility, can create changes in oxidative stress and changes in gut signaling and ketone production, and reduced digestive burden comes from fasting, and potential changes in immune cell activity. But we are not going to say that fasting cures autoimmune disease. That would just be irresponsible. What we can say is that fasting is being studied because it appears to interact with metabolism, immunity, and inflammation in meaningful ways. And for some people, fasting or fasting mimicking approaches, they become part of a larger strategy. But the larger strategy still matters. Sleep, stress, nutrient density, vitamin D, omega 3s, gut health, movement, sunlight, nervous system regulation, having real food and good relationships, and exploring and building your faith and your purpose, and reducing toxic load where possible. Like fasting, it does not replace all of that. It belongs inside of that. The brain is energy hungry. Even though it is only a small percentage of body weight, it uses a lot of energy. Many people think that the brain can only use glucose, but that is not fully true. The brain can also use ketones. Now, ketones are produced by the liver when carbohydrate availability is low and fat metabolism increases. This can happen during fasting, and this can happen during ketogenic diets, and this can happen during extended exercise. Ketones are not just fuel. They may also act as signaling molecules, and they may influence inflammation, oxidative stress, and brain metabolism. This is one reason that fasting is so fascinating for brain health. People often report mental clarity after adapting to a fast, not always at first, but once adapted, some people feel super steady when they weren't before. They feel clear and focused and less snack driven and less mentally noisy. Why is this? It's possibly because blood sugar is more stable, and possibly because ketones provide an alternative fuel, and it's possibly because cravings quiet down, and possibly because the person is no longer riding the constant glucose, insulin roller coaster. But again, keep in mind, not everyone feels this way. Some people feel anxious or depleted or obsessive when fasting. So the body's feedback matters. The goal is not to force your body fasting because someone online said it should feel amazing. The goal is to learn your body. If fasting brings peace, clarity, and steadiness, that is useful feedback. if fasting brings you panic and weakness, obsession, or collapse, and that is useful feedback too. The body is always communicating. So, I do want to talk about weight loss because even though I believe fasting is much bigger than weight loss, I'm not going to pretend that weight loss is not one reason that people search for fasting and trying to learn more about it. Fasting can help people to lose weight, and often because it reduces the eating window, it may reduce the overall calorie intake and it may reduce snacking. It may lower insulin and it may improve appetite awareness and it may simplify food decisions and, you know, it may help. But fasting is not automatically superior to every other approach. Some studies show benefits and some have modest benefits when it comes to weight loss, and some show no major advantage when calories are matched, but fasting was done. Now, that does not mean that fasting is useless for weight loss, but it means that fasting is also not magic. For some people, fasting is easier than calorie counting, and for others, it triggers overeating. So, for some people, fasting is going to reduce cravings, and for others, it creates obsession. It can help blood sugar, and it can also make it worse at times, and it can reduce stress, and it can also add to stress. And sometimes it creates freedom and sometimes it becomes a cage. So we need honesty here. If fasting helps you build a peaceful, nourishing, metabolically healthy rhythm, wonderful. If fasting makes you binge, panic, restrict, or hate your body, it may not be the right tool for you right now. It's okay. It is. The goal is not fasting. The goal is health. Never confuse the tool with the destination. Now, I want to talk about something that modern health culture often misses. Fasting is not only biological, it is spiritual. Before fasting was trendy, it was sacred. In scripture, fasting is often connected to humility and prayer, repentance, mourning, preparation, deliverance, and seeking God. People fasted when they needed help, when they needed clarity, or when they needed strength, when they needed to soften their hearts, or when they needed to remember that the body is not only part of a human being, it is who we are, but our soul is dwelling inside of it. And we often need to remember that. I think we need that reminder now because modern life constantly trains us to consume. We consume food, we consume noise and entertainment, and we consume opinions and anger and products, and we consume outrage and comfort and products and distraction. We like to buy things that keep us busy, and fasting interrupts consumption because it creates space and it reminds us that I'm not just appetite. I'm not just craving. I'm not just impulse. I am not just the next comfort. I am a soul. I am a daughter of God. You are a child of God. I have a body, but I am not ruled by every demand of the body, and neither are you. Now, at the same time, I am responsible to take care of this body, as are you. That balance is beautiful. Fasting humbles the body without despising the body. It quiets appetite without declaring it evil. It opens space without declaring deprivation. It says, Lord, I need you more than I need constant comfort. And sometimes That is the healing that we need most. It's not because fasting earns blessings like a transaction, but because fasting can prepare us to receive what God was already trying to teach us. Sometimes fasting changes the body, but sometimes fasting changes the heart. Often it does both. For me, this conversation is so personal. I do not talk about fasting as someone who lived in a perfectly predictable body. I talk about fasting as someone who has lived with multiple sclerosis for about 20 plus, 20 years. I know what it feels like to be told scary things about your future. I know what it feels like to wonder if your body is attacking you. I know what it feels like to try to read symptoms like signs. And I know what it feels like to ask, what did I do wrong? I know what it feels like to be afraid of food, afraid of inflammation, afraid of decline, afraid of losing function, afraid of becoming a burden. So I want to be very careful because fasting can be a beautiful tool. But for someone like me, it can also be complicated or become complicated. There have been seasons when eating felt hard, seasons when I've wondered if eating less made symptoms quieter, seasons when I had to ask myself honestly, am I fasting with wisdom or am I afraid to nourish? That is a real question. And I think many people with chronic illness will understand that. When your body feels unpredictable, control can feel comforting. But healing does not come from fear. Healing does not come from punishment, and healing does not come from shrinking yourself into safety. Healing requires nourishment too. So, in this series, I will not teach fasting like a weapon. I will teach it like a rhythm. There is a difference between metabolic rest and self neglect. There is a difference between fasting and fear. There is a difference between discipline and desperation. And there's a difference between honoring the body and trying to disappear. And I believe God wants us to know that difference. Let's talk about different fasting approaches. The simple is, yeah, the simplest I would say is the overnight fast. This is where most people should begin. 12 hours without food, like we talked about. Finish dinner at 7 and have breakfast at 7 a.m. It's not extreme. This is just giving digestion a night shift off. Then there's also time restricted eating. This means eating within a consistent daily window. So maybe each day you only eat within a 10-hour window or an 8-hour window, or maybe sometimes in between like 6 to 7 hours. For example, eating from like 10 a.m. to 6 or 7 p.m. and then 9 a.m. to 6 or 7 p.m. I generally recommend being done eating by 7 p.m. if at all possible. Some people do better with an earlier eating window because the body often handles glucose better earlier in the day. And some people do better with a later window because of like family dinner or work schedule, that type of thing, just real life. But the best fasting window, it's not the one that looks impressive online. It's going to be the one that supports your actual life and health. Um, then there's also intermittent fasting, which can include different patterns. Some people fast longer once or twice a week. Like we'll do a 24-hour fast once a week and then a normal fat diet throughout the rest of the week. Or they'll do a 8-hour window on Monday and Friday, but then the rest of the week will be the same. Some people do like a 5 normal days, and then 2 days of fasting. There's so many options. Um, Let me think. Ooh, there's also, you could do like a fasting mimicking diet. And this is for people that eat a very specific low calorie, low protein, plant forward protocol. It's designed to mimic some fasting signals while still providing nourishment of some sort. Each approach has different risks and different benefits. And just keep in mind that the more intense is not always better. One meal a day may work for some people, but for others, especially women, underweight people, or athletes, people with adrenaline stress or thyroid concerns, or like we mentioned, eating disorders, it might be too stressful. So longer fasts can be powerful, but they also require more caution. Oh, keep in mind electrolytes matter also. Refeeding matters. Medication safety matters. Medical history matters. So I would rather see someone do a gentle 12-hour fast consistently, eating nourishing meals, sleep well, and feel peaceful than push extreme fasting and feel awful and damage trust with your own body. Again, the goal is rhythm, not performance. So, if someone is new to fasting, here's where I would start. Step one, stop snacking after dinner. That alone can change so much. No shame, no drama. Just close the kitchen, brush your teeth, drink some water or herbal tea, and let the body rest. Step two, I want you to aim for a 12-hour overnight fast. Dinner at 7, breakfast at 7, or dinner at 6 or 7, and then breakfast at 6 or 7, whatever fits. Step 3, improve the eating window before extending the fasting window. This is huge. Before you try to fast longer, ask, am I eating enough protein? Am I getting minerals? Am I hydrated? Am I eating real food? Am I sleeping and managing stress? Or am I under eating? Am I binging? Am I using caffeine to replace nourishment? Be honest with yourself. I bring this up because I've done it. It's a real issue for a lot of people. Are you? Am I? Are we using caffeine to replace nourishment? Be honest. Because if your eating window is chaotic, fasting longer may make things worse. So, step 4, gently extend only if your body responds well. Maybe like 13 hours, 14, 15, 16, gradually increase, but watch your body. Pay attention to your energy and your mood and your sleep and cycle changes as a woman. Pay attention to your menstrual cycle and cravings and mental clarity, digestion, strength, hair, temperature, anxiety, trying to think of everything. You want to pay attention to these things. And if things are getting worse, do not worship the fasting window. Don't increase it. Don't make it worse. Adjust. Maybe improve what you're feeding with. Maybe improve the cleanliness of your sleep hygiene. Like, how well are you able to sleep? Is your room dark and cold and undisturbed? Consider all these things. Step 5, break your fast wisely. Do not break a fast with a pile of sugar. I do not want you having a donut for breakfast. Don't do it. Start with nourishment, protein, healthy fats, minerals, gentle fiber if tolerated and you can handle it. Have some real food. For some people, eggs is a great option. For some, maybe some meat or some Greek yogurt. That's a really good choice because it's got the probiotics in it as well. Or maybe some soup warmed up from the night before. Having some avocado or some cooked vegetables or a smoothie is a big one in my house. We love smoothies. I have one often, and my youngest son has one almost every morning. The first meal matters. You are telling your body when it wakes up, we are safe. We are nourished. We are rebuilding. All right, let's talk mistakes. Mistake number 1, is starting too extreme. People go from all day snacking to a 24-hour fast and then wonder why they feel terrible. Start smaller. Mistake number 2 is not eating enough during the eating window. Fasting is not an excuse to become chronically undernourished. Mistake number 3 is ignoring electrolytes. When insulin drops, the body may release more sodium and water. Some people need more salt or magnesium or potassium rich foods and hydration when they've been fasting. Mistake number 4, using fasting to compensate for overeating. That can create a restrictive binge cycle, and that is not healing. Mistake number 5 is breaking the fast with ultra processed food. Do not go through your favorite fast food drive through after you've done a 24-hour fast. That can spike cravings and make fasting even harder. Mistake number 6 is drinking calories all day and calling it fasting. Creamer, sugar, sweet drinks, and snacks all send signals. Now, I am not saying that you must be perfect, but if you are trying to understand fasting, you need to understand signals. So, mistake number 7 is fasting through warning signs like dizziness, fainting, heart racing, severe sweating, feeling confused, having obsessive food thoughts, loss of a menstrual cycle. If your period stops, that's not good. Worsening sleep. These are not badges of honor. These are signals. So mistake number 8 is making fasting your identity. You are not more righteous because you fast longer. I know it sucks, right? Yeah, but you're not. And you're not more disciplined because you eat less than your overweight friend. Sorry, not true. And you are not more worthy because you can ignore hunger. Mm-mm, you're not. You're worthy already. Your worth is already established. Fasting is simply a tool. It is not your value. God did not call us to fast because he wants us to be skinny. God did not call us to fast to try and save on the grocery bill. God did not call us to fast because he wants us to suffer. He didn't. He called us to do it because it's good for us. All right. We need to talk about women because women are not small men. Hormones matter, cycles matter, stress matters, nourishment matters, reproductive signals matter, thyroid signals matter. A fasting routine that works beautifully for one person may be too much for another. Some women thrive with time-restricted eating, and some women do better with shorter fasts. Some women do better fasting only like certain days, and some women need more food before their cycles. And some women notice sleep disturbances if they fast too long. And some women feel amazing until they do too much. And then their body starts whispering cold hands, hair shredding, anxiety, fatigue, cycle changes, cravings, poor sleep, low mood. If that happens, the answer may not be more discipline. This, it's not weakness. This is biology. The female body is deeply tuned to energy availability, and it's not a flaw. It's a design. So women should approach fasting through wisdom, with wisdom, not fear or obsession, but wisdom. For many women, a 12 to 14-hour overnight fast may provide benefits without the excessive stress. Some may do well with a 16-hour fast, and some maybe occasionally go longer, but the body gets a vote. So always read the vote. Make sure you see what is actually being chosen by your body. fasting is a stressor. Now, that does not mean fasting is bad. Exercise is a stressor. Cold exposure is a stressor. Heat is a stressor. Learning is a stressor. Growth, it requires stress. But there is healthy stress and then there's overwhelming stress. Hormesis is the idea that a small, manageable stress can make the body stronger, but too much stress layered on top of too much stress can break the system down. And this matters because many people start fasting when they are already exhausted and they're already sleeping poorly and emotionally overwhelmed and they already drink too much caffeine and undernourished and inflamed and they're parenting and they're working and caregiving and carrying trauma and living in a fight or flight and then they add fasting aggressively. Sometimes that works, but sometimes it backfires because the nervous system does not experience fasting in isolation. It experiences the total load. Poor sleep plus emotional stress plus undereating plus caffeine plus intense exercise plus fasting may be too much. So before fasting longer, I want you to ask yourself, is my body already under stress? Am I sleeping? Am I safe? Am I nourished? Am I using fasting to create peace or to create control? Because healing requires safety, and the body repairs better when it feels safe. Fasting can create safety when it lowers metabolic chaos, but fasting can create danger signals when it becomes deprivation. The difference matters. Meal timing matters because the body has clocks, not just one clock in the brain, but clocks throughout the body, like liver clocks and gut clocks or hormone clocks or metabolic clocks. Light is a major signal, or food is another major signal. And when we eat late at night, we send the body a confusing message because the outside world says nighttime and the kitchen says daytime. The brain says sleep and the gut says digest. And that mismatch, it can affect glucose and digestion, sleep and metabolism. And this is one reason that many experts talk about avoiding food close to bedtime. Because for many people, one of the best fasting steps is not skipping breakfast, it's stopping evening eating. So finish dinner earlier and avoid that late night snack. Give the body 2 to 3 hours before bed without food and let sleep be a fasting window. It's the easiest way to implement this. Let nighttime be nighttime. This is simple, but it is so powerful and it does not require extreme restriction. It just requires respecting rhythm, morning light, daytime nourishment, evening quiet, nighttime repair. That is how the body understands time. Autophagy is one of the most exciting and overhyped fasting topics, like we talked about. So let's bring it back to earth. Autophagy means self-eating. That sounds scary, but it is a normal cellular recycling process. Cells can break down damaged parts and reuse the components. This is part of maintenance. It's just part of quality control, and it's one of the ways the body keeps things cleaner. Fasting, it can stimulate autophagy because nutrient scarcity tells the body to conserve and to recycle and repair. It's super fascinating. But we need humility. We cannot perfectly measure autophagy in every tissue of a living human at home. You cannot know from a clock alone exactly what is happening in every cell. So when someone says at hour 16, this happens, at hour 20, this happens, at hour 24, this is happening, be careful because those timelines can be useful teaching tools, but the body is not a stopwatch. But still, the principle matters. The body has cleanup systems, and constant feeding may reduce some fasting related cleanup signals. Strategic fasting, it can help to activate some of them, but that is enough reason to be interested. But it's not enough reason to become like super extreme. Most modern chronic disease is not caused by like just one thing. It is usually a network like food quality and blood sugar, insulin, stress, sleep, movement, toxins, these things we keep talking about like gut health and inflammation or genetics and trauma, your community, your sunlight exposure, nutrient deficiencies, hormones, medications, infections, environment. There's just so much. This is why root cause thinking matters. You cannot reduce a complex human life to one supplement or one diet or one fasting window. But fasting may influence several nodes within the network. It may reduce snacking and it may improve blood sugar regulation. It could lower insulin exposure, and fasting may help people to lose body fat, and it may support metabolic flexibility, and it might reduce late night eating and improve awareness and create spiritual discipline and simplify the day. It may help people stop being ruled by their cravings. Now, for someone with metabolic syndrome, prediabetes, obesity, or fatty liver, insulin resistance, fasting can be a very practical tool. But again, it should be matched to the person. Some people need medication. Some people need nutritional medical therapy. Some need just therapy. Some need sleep treatment or strength training or better food access or trauma support or better community. Health is not just a personal discipline. Health is an environment. And compassion reminds us, it requires us to remember that. Because my own story, it does include multiple sclerosis. I want to speak carefully about this. There is research, interest in fasting mimicking diets, ketogenic diets, and autoimmune disease. And some early studies and animal research, it suggests that fasting related approaches may influence immune function, inflammation, regeneration, and quality of life. And that is so hopeful, but we should not overstate it. MS is serious. Autoimmune disease is so complex, and fasting is not a proven cure. Fasting does not replace all medical care, and fasting does not guarantee remission. Fasting does not mean someone caused their illness by eating wrong or eating too much. That last part matters because chronically ill people are often blamed, and I am not doing that. This is not your fault. But I do believe that we can ask hopeful questions. Can metabolic health influence immune health? Can blood sugar stability influence inflammation? Can gut health influence immune regulation? Can fasting or fasting mimicking approaches support repair pathways? Can nourishment and metabolic rest work together? Can we create a body environment that is less inflamed and more resilient? Those are worthy questions. For me, fasting is not about curing MS. It is about understanding the terrain, the internal environment, the signals my body is receiving, the burdens I may be able to reduce, the rhythms I might be able to restore. And if you have MS or another autoimmune disease, please hear me. You're not broken. You are not hopeless or helpless. And you are not obligated to try every extreme thing on the internet. You deserve wisdom. You deserve support. You deserve nourishment. You deserve hope that does not become pressure. Okay? Let's then talk about the blessings that you deserve. Not guarantees, but blessings. Blessings, because fasting has benefits that go beyond the scale. Fasting can teach patience. It can teach humility. It can reveal attachments. It can show us how quickly we reach for comfort, and it can help us separate true hunger from emotional hunger. It can make prayer feel more intentional, and it can create compassion for those who go without food unwillingly. It can remind us to give offerings and to serve and to feed others and to care about the hungry. It can quiet the body enough for the spirit to be heard, and it can help us recognize how often we consume without even thinking. It can restore gratitude. Food tastes different after fasting. A simple meal can feel like a gift when you're so hungry. Water can feel like a mercy. Speaking of which, I'm super thirsty. Family dinner can feel holy. That is one of the hidden blessings of fasting. It does not only teach us how to go without, it teaches us how to receive food with gratitude, and to receive and live in the body with gentleness, to receive God's help with humility, and to receive enough as enough. Modern culture is addicted to more food, more noise, more stimulation, more opinions, more outrage, more productivity, more entertainment. Fasting says maybe less can open space for what really matters. Less consumption, more awareness, less impulse, and more prayer. Less noise and more peace. Less control and more surrender. This is not just about metabolism. This is about discipleship and what we choose to surrender to. Before anyone fasts, I think they should check their mindset and ask, am I fasting because I love my body or because I hate it? Am I fasting to create rhythm or create control? Am I fasting with peace or panic? Am I fasting to listen to God or to prove something? Am I fasting from wisdom or from fear? Am I willing to stop if my body doesn't respond well? Am I willing to nourish fully when the fast is over? Those questions matter because the same behavior can come from different spirits. Two people can skip a meal. One is fasting with prayer and wisdom and peace. The other is restricting with fear and shame and self-punishment. Outwardly, it may look the same, but inwardly, it is completely different. God cares about the heart, and the body feels the difference too. Fasting should lead to greater freedom, not bondage, greater gratitude, not obsession, greater clarity, not fear, greater compassion, not pride. If fasting makes you judgmental toward people who eat differently, something is off. If fasting makes you feel superior, something is off. If fasting makes you afraid of normal food, something is off. If fasting makes you ignore your body's warning signs, something is off. But if fasting helps you become more peaceful, more prayerful, more grateful, more metabolically steady, more aware, and more connected to your body and God, that is beautiful fruit. That is what we're looking to grow. Here is the framework I want to give you. Level 1, restore the overnight fast. 12 hours, no late night snacking, hydrate, sleep. Level 2, stabilize meals. Protein at meals, real food, enough calories and minerals, healthy fats. Fiber is tolerated. Less ultra-processed food. Okay. Level 3, gently narrow the eating window. Maybe 10 hours, maybe 9, maybe 8. Only if you feel good. Level 4, add spiritual intention. Do not just skip food. Pray, Journal, read scriptures, ask, what are you making room for? What are you trying to get better for? Level 5, personalize. Some people thrive with 16 hours fasting, 8 hours eating, some with 14-10, some with 12-12, some with occasional longer fasts, some with fasting mimicking diets, some should not fast. Choose your best. Level 6, evaluate fruit. As in, how are you doing? What is the result? Are you sleeping better? Is your energy better? Are your cravings quieter? Is digestion better? Is your mood stable? Are you nourishing enough? Are you more peaceful? Are you becoming healthier? If yes, continue wisely. If no, adjust. The body is not failing the plan. The plan may need to change for your body. All right. When you are not fasting, nourish. A good fasting lifestyle needs a strong feeding foundation. Focus on protein. Protein supports muscle, immune function, enzymes, hormones, repair. Focus on minerals, sodium, potassium, magnesium, zinc, selenium, iodine, iron. They all matter. Focus on healthy fats, olive oil, avocado, egg yolks, fatty fish, grass-fed meats if that fits your diet, nuts and seeds if tolerated. Focus on whole foods and foods that look like food, not food-like products engineered to override hunger signals. No. Focus on plants that you tolerate, like colorful vegetables and cooked greens, berries and herbs and cruciferous vegetables, fermented foods if tolerated. Have your kimchi and cultured veggies. But do not force foods your body cannot handle right now. Some sensitive bodies need gentler foods like soups and broths or slow cooked meats, maybe cooked vegetables or smoothies. Simple meals. Healing is not always Instagram pretty. Sometimes healing is a bowl of soup you can digest. Focus on enough food, enough nourishment, enough peace. Because fasting without nourishment is not restoration, it is depletion. Let's talk about breaking a fast because breaking a fast matters, especially longer fasts. After a short overnight fast, most people can simply eat like a normal nourishing meal. But after longer fasts, be gentler. Do not shock the body. Start smaller. Eat slowly. Choose easy to digest foods and proteins, but not an enormous amount all at once. Okay, cooked foods may be easier than raw foods, and soups are often easier to digest than a huge heavy meal. So avoid breaking longer fasts with lots of sugar or alcohol or ultra processed food. I want you to pay attention. How do you feel after eating? Warm, calm, steady, sleepy, bloated, anxious, ravenous? Your first meal after fasting teaches you a lot. It shows how your body responds. It shows what foods feel nourishing, and it shows whether you fasted too long. It shows whether you are ready for this rhythm. Again, fasting is a conversation with the body, not a command shouted at it. I want to talk about some myths that surround fasting. Myth number 1, fasting ruins your metabolism. The truth? Chronic undereating can harm metabolism. Wise fasting paired with nourishment is different. Myth number 2, everyone should skip breakfast. The truth is, some people do well skipping breakfast. Others better eating earlier and stopping earlier. Next myth, if fasting is good, longer is always better. No, the truth is longer can mean more stress. The right dose matters. Myth, fasting cures everything. The truth, fasting is a tool, not a cure-all. Myth, hunger is always an emergency. Truth? Hunger is a signal. Sometimes it means eat. Sometimes it means your body is adapting. Wisdom is learning the difference. Myth? Fasting means you can eat anything later. The truth? Food quality still matters. Myth. If you cannot fast, you are weak. Truth. Some bodies need nourishment more than fasting. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. Myth. Fasting is only physical. Truth. Fasting can be physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. At this point, I want to ask something deeper. What are we really hungry for? Because sometimes food is not the real hunger. Sometimes we are hungry for rest, hungry for peace, hungry for safety, hungry for love, hungry for control or for comfort, hungry for escape or hungry for God. And when we fast, those hungers may rise to the surface. That can be uncomfortable, but it can also be holy. Because if every discomfort is immediately covered with food or noise, scrolling, caffeine, or distraction, we may never hear what the discomfort is trying to say. Fasting creates a pause, and in that pause, we may discover I am tired, I am lonely, I am grieving, I am angry, I am scared, I am overwhelmed, I am spiritually hungry. I am living disconnected from my body. I am using food to survive emotions I have not had space to feel. We may discover these things. And that awareness is not failure. That awareness is grace. Because once we see the real hunger, we can bring it to God. We can bring it into the light. We can ask for healing that goes deeper than appetite. This is the heart of the fasting project. Fasting should not be framed as restriction. It should be framed as restoration, restoring metabolic flexibility, restoring digestive rhythm, restoring insulin sensitivity, restoring hunger cues, restoring gratitude, restoring spiritual dependence on the right thing, the right God, restoring the ability to say no to constant consumption and restoring the body's memory of stored fuel, restoring the sacredness of nourishment and restoring trust, because health is not just about removing bad things. It is about restoring good rhythms, sunrise and sunset, work and rest, eating and fasting, strength and recovery, prayer and action, feasting and restraint, community and solitude. The body was not designed for constant anything. Constant eating, constant stress, constant noise, constant light, constant sitting, constant scrolling, constant fear. We need rhythm. Fasting is one doorway back into rhythm. If someone wanted to begin this week, here is a gentle way. Day 1, observe. Do not change anything. Just notice. When do you eat? Why do you eat? When are you truly hungry? When are you stressed? When do cravings hit you? Day 2, close the kitchen after dinner. No shame, just practice. Day 3, create a 12-hour overnight fast. Water, herbal tea, quiet. Day 4, I want you to focus on breakfast or your first meal quality, the protein, minerals, and the real food that you're actually going to have. Day 5, reduce ultra-processed snacks. Stay away from the vending machine, unless you're lucky enough to have a healthy one, which isn't often. I want you to replace with a nourishing meal or intentional snack if needed. Day 6, stop eating 2 to 3 hours before bed. I want you to notice your sleep, your digestion. Day 7, add prayer. You could start this on day 1 too, but if you haven't yet, add it. Ask God, what am I learning about my appetites? What does my body need? Where Do I need more peace? That is a beautiful beginning. It's not extreme and it's not flashy, but it's real. And real is what lasts. Please hear this clearly. Fasting may not be appropriate for everyone. Be cautious if you're pregnant, breastfeeding, a teenager, underweight, struggling to eat enough, recovering from an eating disorder, or dealing with active disordered eating thoughts, taking insulin, taking blood sugar lowering medication, having a history of fainting, dealing with serious chronic disease without support, recovering from surgery, medically fragile, in a season of extreme stress. This does not mean you are excluded from health. It means your path may need to emphasize nourishment first. There are many ways to support metabolic health that do not require aggressive fasting. Real food, protein, walking, strength training, morning light, sleep, stress reduction, earlier dinners, less processed food, minerals, gut support, prayer, community. You are not failing if fasting is not right for you right now. You are being wise. I I believe fasting is going to continue to grow as a health topic. But I also believe the conversation needs to mature. We need less hype, more wisdom, less shame, more personalization, less everyone should do this, and more of what does your body need? Less obsession over the exact number of hours of the fast and more attention to nourishment, less biohacking pride and more humility, less influencer extremism and more real life sustainability. Because fasting is too important to be reduced to a trend. It belongs in a bigger conversation about metabolic health, spiritual health, emotional health, and human restoration. The future of fasting should not be about who can fast the longest. It should be about who can live the most whole, the most free, the most nourished, the most awake, the most connected to God, body, family, and purpose. That is the kind of fasting I want to talk about. So, what does fasting really do? It gives the body a break from constant incoming fuel. It allows insulin to fall. It helps the body access that stored energy. It can support metabolic flexibility and increase ketone production. It may support cellular maintenance pathways. It may reduce snacking. It may improve awareness. It may support blood sugar regulation for some people. It may quiet cravings. It may create digestive rest. It may help us feel the difference between true hunger and emotional hunger. It may teach patience. It may deepen prayer. Fasting may increase gratitude. It may remind us that food is a gift. It may reveal what has been controlling you and me. It may help us remember that the body was designed with wisdom. But fasting is not magic. It is not punishment. It is not a cure-all. It is not proof of worthiness. It is not for everyone in every season. Fasting is a tool, a rhythm, a teacher, a doorway. And when fasting is paired with nourishment, wisdom, humility, and faith, it can become something deeply beautiful. Not because empty is holy, but because sometimes empty creates space, space for repair, space for clarity, space for gratitude, space for God, space for the body to remember what it was designed to do. So if you are beginning, begin gently. Close the kitchen door after dinner and let your body rest overnight. I want you to eat real food, get enough protein, and hydrate, sleep, walk, pray, and then listen. Do not rush. Do not punish. Do not compare. Do not turn fasting into another burden. Let it become an invitation to rhythm, an invitation to healing, an invitation to partnership with your body, an invitation to remember that you are not broken beyond repair. Your body is not your enemy. Your body is communicating. Your body is trying. Your body is worth understanding, and you are worth caring for. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Fasting Project. If this helped you, I would love for you to subscribe and continue this journey with me. You can also visit my website at URworthitHealth.com. The letter U, the letter R, worthithealth.com. And if you want to read more of my personal story and experience with multiple sclerosis and the health principles that changed how I care for my body, my book, it's called Finally Understand Multiple Sclerosis. It's available on Amazon. You can get it in ebook, paperback, and hardback. But most of all, I hope you leave this video with peace, not pressure. Hope, not hype, and curiosity, not shame. Because healing does not begin with perfection. Sometimes healing begins with one quiet question. What if my body has been trying to talk to me all along and I just haven't been listening? And what if fasting done wisely is one way I can finally hear it? This is the Fasting Project. And we are not chasing another diet. We are rediscovering an ancient rhythm of human health. See you in the next one.